If your parents refused to pay for your college while funding your siblings' every expense, would you show up to their wedding 9 years later? Would you walk into that room knowing they still see you as the family failure? My name is Paige Bennett, and if you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday. Cream cardstock, gold embossing, my sister Julia's perfect calligraphy announcing her marriage to Daniel Morrison, CFO of PharmaCorp. 9 years of silence, and this was how they reached out. I still remember that dinner when I was 18. Dad's voice cutting through my hope. You need to be independent, Paige. College is a privilege, not a right. Mom nodding along. Besides, you're not really college material. Meanwhile, Julia, 2 years younger, already had her entire education fund secured. They paid for her tutors, her car, her apartment. They paid for everything except the one thing that mattered: fairness. Standing in my corner office at MedTech Solutions, I turned the invitation over in my hands. My assistant knocked. Mrs. Bennett, your husband's on line 1. Marcus always knew what to say. This time he said something that changed everything. That family dinner 12 years ago started like any other. Pot roast, green beans, Dad's favorite wine. I'd waited weeks for the right moment to bring up college applications. I got into State University, I announced, unable to contain my excitement. With my SAT scores, I qualify for partial scholarships. I just need help with— No. Dad didn't even look up from cutting his meat. But Julia's college fund. Julia has potential. Mom's voice was matter-of-fact, like explaining why the sky was blue. She's going places. You have determination. That should be enough. Julia smirked across the table, twirling her fork. Maybe community college? I heard they take anyone. The irony burned. My SAT scores were 200 points higher than Julia's. I'd tutored her in math just last week because she couldn't grasp basic calculus. But I was the one deemed not college material. Robert, please, I tried once more with Dad. I've worked so hard. Working hard at a diner doesn't make you college material, Paige. Your sister has real prospects. We're investing where it makes sense. Mom nodded. Why waste money on someone who'll just get married and quit anyway? That night, I stared at my acceptance letter until the words blurred. In the next room, I could hear Julia on the phone, laughing about her shopping plans for her future dorm room. She was 16. Her college was already paid for 2 years in advance. I folded the acceptance letter carefully, placed it in my drawer, and started looking for a third job. If independence was what they wanted, independence was what they'd get. The pattern had been there all along. I'd just been too hopeful to see it. Julia got a professional SAT tutor. I got library study guides. Julia received a brand new BMW for her 16th birthday. I took 3 buses to get to my jobs. When Julia made the JV cheerleading squad, our parents threw a party. When I won the state essay contest, they forgot to attend the ceremony. Julia's going places became Dad's favorite phrase, usually followed by a pointed look in my direction. The breaking point came when I discovered Julia's perfect grades weren't so perfect after all. I'd gone to her room to return a calculator and found her report card, the real one, not the doctored version our parents saw. C's and D's hidden beneath correction fluid, transformed into A's and B's. You're snooping? She'd caught me, but she wasn't worried. Like they'd believe you anyway. She was right. When I tried to tell Mom, she dismissed it immediately. Jealousy is ugly, Paige. Your sister doesn't need to cheat. She's naturally gifted. Naturally gifted at deception, maybe. I watched Julia charm her teachers into extensions, sweet-talk her way out of consequences, and somehow convince everyone she was the golden child. Meanwhile, my straight A's earned through late-night studying were dismissed as trying too hard. The college fund conversation happened monthly after that, always with the same result. We've already explained this, Paige. Some investments pay off, others don't. By the time I turned 19, I'd saved $3,000 from my jobs. It wasn't enough for college, but it was enough for a bus ticket and first month's rent somewhere else. Somewhere I could build something from nothing, without their constant reminders of my designated failure. 3 jobs weren't enough. Waitressing mornings, retail evenings, cleaning offices at night. I'd saved $8,000 in a year, still short for even community college. I found a solution, I told my parents, hope creeping back despite everything. There's a need-based scholarship. I qualify for everything except I need parental signatures for the FAFSA. Dad set down his newspaper. Absolutely not. It's just a signature. You're embarrassing us with this desperation page. Mom's voice dripped with secondhand shame. Everyone knows you're working these dead-end jobs. Mrs. Henderson asked if you were on drugs. I'm trying to pay for college. Then try harder or accept reality. Dad stood up. If you can't make it on your own, maybe you're not meant to make it at all. Julia walked in, yawning. Can you keep it down? Some of us have actual futures to rest up for. She grabbed my car keys. Wait, my keys to the shared car I'd paid half for. I'm taking the car to Ashley's. That's my car too. Was your car, Mom corrected. Julia needs reliable transportation for her activities. That night, I packed everything I owned into 2 suitcases. 19 years in this house, and my life fit into 2 bags. I left a note. Getting that independence you wanted. Mom found me at the door. If you leave now, don't expect us to catch you when you fall. I won't fall. Everyone falls, Paige. The difference is, Julia has us to catch her. I walked out into the rain. No car, no family, $8,000 to my name. Within an hour, Julia had posted photos of her redecorated new room, my former room, on Instagram. The caption read, "Finally got the space I deserve." 5 years of silence cost more than I'd imagined. The 8x8 room I rented had a hot plate, a mattress on the floor, and a desk made from a door I'd found on the street. Luxury was choosing between ramen flavors. I worked days at a call center, nights stocking shelves, weekends tutoring kids whose parents looked through me like I was furniture. Success is the best revenge? Try paying rent first. Try choosing between textbooks and food. Try sitting in class after a night shift, praying the professor doesn't notice you nodding off. I missed 5 Christmases, 5 birthdays, 5 Thanksgivings where, according to Julia's Facebook posts, the family was complete and perfect. In one photo, they'd even cropped out my chair at the dinner table, the one that sat empty. Year 3 almost broke me. Pneumonia from walking to work in winter without a proper coat. The hospital bill wiped out my savings. I called home once, just once, when the fever hit 103. Paige? Mom's voice sounded surprised. Are you calling for money? I'm sick, I wanted... Your father was right. You can't even take care of yourself. Julia's thriving at university, by the way. Made Dean's List. I hung up. Later, I learned Julia's Dean's List was fabricated, but that didn't matter then. What mattered was surviving until tomorrow, then the next day, then the next. The cost of independence wasn't just financial, it was eating alone on your birthday. It was watching other students' parents visit campus while yours pretended you didn't exist. It was building yourself from nothing while carrying the weight of their prophecy. You'll fail. But I didn't fail. I just learned to succeed quietly. Sometimes strangers believe in you more than family ever will. I met Marcus in the university library during my 4th year. I'd finally saved enough for part-time enrollment. He was reading a medical journal. I was debugging code for my entrepreneurship class at 2 a.m. That's elegant coding, he said, looking at my screen. Self-taught? YouTube University, I mumbled, exhausted. He laughed, not mockingly, but with genuine warmth. Same here. My family owns hospitals, but I learned programming because medicine's future is digital. We talked until sunrise. About healthcare technology, about innovation, about building something meaningful. He never asked why I looked tired or why I ate vending machine dinners. He just saw potential. I'm working on a startup idea, I told him weeks later. Healthcare administration software. I know people who need that. My family's been looking for solutions. Professor Smith, overheard us. Paige, there's a paid internship at MedTech Solutions. They need someone who understands both healthcare and coding. Interested? The internship paid more than my 3 jobs combined. For the first time in 5 years, I could breathe. Marcus helped refine my project, introduced me to advisors, never once making me feel like charity. Why are you helping me? I asked one evening. Because you're brilliant, and you don't even know it. He paused. Also because anyone who works this hard despite everything deserves someone in their corner. I didn't tell him about my family then, but somehow I think he knew. The way he'd casually pay for coffee, or happen to have extra textbooks, or invite me to dinner with his family where his mother would insist on sending leftovers. His mother once said, "Family isn't always blood, dear." She was right. If you've ever been the unfavored child, drop a comment below. How did you overcome it? I read every single comment, and your stories help others know they're not alone. And please, hit that subscribe button if this resonates with you. It really helps me share these stories with people who need to hear them. Now let me tell you what happened when I finally graduated, and how the silence from my family spoke louder than words ever could. Graduation day. Summa cum laude. The dean called my name, and the auditorium erupted in applause, except for the 2 empty seats I'd foolishly reserved. Your real family is here, Marcus's mother whispered, squeezing my hand as I returned with my diploma. That same morning, Julia had posted on Facebook, "Spa day with mom. #blessed, #mother-daughter goals." The timestamp showed they were getting manicures while I was walking across that stage. Marcus took photos, his parents hosted a celebration dinner, and his father, the man who ran Westfield Medical Group, raised a toast. To Paige, who proves that character matters more than circumstances. The MedTech Solutions offer came that evening. Starting salary. More than my parents made combined. I stared at the number, remembering Mom's words. Not college material. Take it, Marcus encouraged. You've earned this. A week later, curiosity got the better of me. I checked Julia's university page. 5 years in college, and she still hadn't graduated. Her LinkedIn showed expected graduation, pushing back year after year. But her Instagram? Trips to Cabo, designer bags, daddy's princess captions. I could have called them, could have shared my success. But what was the point? They'd made their bet, chosen their horse. Julia was going places, remember? The irony was perfect. The daughter they'd invested everything in was spinning her wheels, while the one they'd written off was launching a career. But I didn't gloat. Success doesn't need an audience that never believed in the performance anyway. Marcus found me staring at Julia's profile one evening. You okay? They really thought I'd fail. Prove them wrong by succeeding. The best revenge is a life well lived. He was right. So I lived well, quietly, professionally, without them. Build your empire in silence. That became my mantra. At MedTech Solutions, I didn't just meet expectations, I revolutionized them. My healthcare administration software reduced hospital errors by 30% and saved our clients millions. Within 2 years, I was leading a team. Within 3, I was VP of Development. The 30 Under 30 nomination came as a shock. Standing on that stage, accepting the award for healthcare innovation, I thought about Dad's words. Some investments pay off, others don't. Marcus proposed that same night. Not with fanfare or public display, but quietly, privately, the way we'd built everything together. His family welcomed me like I'd always belonged. His mother started introducing me as my daughter, without the in-law qualifier. Our wedding was small, 50 people who actually cared about us. No empty seats, no cropped photos, no one questioning if I deserved to be there. Marcus's father announced at the reception that I was being promoted to CEO of MedTech's new division. She's the future of healthcare technology, he told the guests. Meanwhile, Julia's LinkedIn still showed senior manager at PharmaCorp, a position that didn't exist in their corporate structure. I knew because we'd started preliminary partnership talks with them. Their actual senior managers were all listed on their website. Julia wasn't among them. This contract will change everything, our CFO said, sliding the Westfield Medical Group papers across my desk. $50 million, the biggest deal in MedTech's history. Marcus had recused himself from negotiations to avoid conflict of interest, but his family's company needed our technology desperately. I signed my name, Paige Bennett, CEO, and felt the weight of how far I'd come. From begging for college money to controlling millions in healthcare technology. The invitation arrived the very next day. This contract will change everything. Our legal team had worked 6 months on the Westfield Medical Group deal. $50 million for exclusive healthcare software rights, with potential expansion to their 12-hospital network. Marcus stayed completely removed from negotiations, but I knew his father was eager to modernize. Implementation starts Monday, I told my team. Full integration across all Westfield facilities. That's when Sharon, my assistant, knocked. Mrs. Bennett, a wedding invitation arrived, addressed specifically to you, not you and Mr. Bennett. The cream envelope felt familiar in my hands. Julia Anderson to marry Daniel Morrison, CFO of PharmaCorp. The wedding was in 3 days. On Monday, the exact day of our Westfield contract signing. Interesting timing, I muttered. Marcus found me studying the invitation that evening. 9 years of nothing and now this? She's marrying PharmaCorp's CFO. We've been in talks with them for months about partnership opportunities. He pulled up Daniel Morrison's profile. Harvard MBA, fast-track executive, comes from old money. Looks like Julia found her meal ticket. Look at this. I showed him Julia's updated LinkedIn. Senior Manager of Strategic Partnerships at PharmaCorp. Since when? Marcus checked PharmaCorp's employee directory. That position doesn't exist. Their strategic partnerships team has 3 managers, all named on their website. She's not there. Something felt off. Why invite me now? Why the specific timing? You should go, Marcus said finally. Not for them, but for closure. The contract signing can happen Tuesday. This is your chance to show them who you've become. Besides, he smiled, I'm curious to meet the family who thought Paige Bennett wasn't worth investing in. I made a decision. We'd attend. But this time I wouldn't be arriving as the family failure. Something doesn't add up here. I spent Sunday researching. Daniel Morrison was legitimate. Harvard MBA, CFO of PharmaCorp, net worth in the millions. But Julia's story had holes. Senior Manager of Strategic Partnerships appeared on her LinkedIn 3 months ago, right after the engagement announcement. Before that? 5 years of marketing coordinator with no company specified. Her Instagram showed lavish lifestyle posts tagged #corporate life, but never once mentioned actual work. Marcus pulled up something interesting. PharmaCorp just announced they're desperately seeking healthcare technology partners. They're behind on digital transformation. And we're the biggest player in that space. Which Julia would know if she actually worked there. He paused. Or maybe she does know. Maybe that's why you're invited. I found an old college friend who worked at PharmaCorp. Julia Anderson? Never heard of her, and I know everyone in strategic partnerships. Wait, is she the blonde who sometimes comes to company events with Daniel? I thought she was just his girlfriend. The pieces clicked. Julia was lying about her position, probably to impress Daniel's family. But did Daniel know? You might need proof of who you are now, Marcus said, watching me prepare for tomorrow. Not to hurt them, but to protect yourself. I packed carefully. The portfolio containing MedTech's latest achievements, my business cards reading CEO, the Cartier watch Marcus had given me for our anniversary, the simple but elegant Oscar de la Renta dress, not rented, not borrowed, but mine. Dress for the job you have, I told my reflection, not the one they think you deserve. Marcus added one more thing to my bag, the signed Westfield contract papers. Just in case anyone questions your authority. Tomorrow, I'd walk into that wedding as myself. The only question was, would they recognize who that was? Monday morning arrived with unusual clarity. You might need proof of who you are now, Marcus repeated as we dressed. He was wearing his Armani suit, the one he wore to board meetings. I chose the burgundy Oscar de la Renta, paired with my grandmother's diamonds. Marcus's grandmother, that is. My own family had never passed anything down to me. In my portfolio, MedTech's annual report showing my name as CEO, the press release about our Westfield partnership, my business cards on thick cardstock with raised lettering. Not to brag, but to be prepared. 9 years of silence meant they knew nothing about who I'd become. The valet parking alone costs more than my old monthly rent, I observed as we pulled up to the St. Regis. Your parents always did like appearances, Marcus noted. Wonder how much debt they're in for this. The lobby was filled with flowers, orchids and roses, probably $20,000 worth. A string quartet played in the corner. Everything screamed money, the kind of desperate display meant to impress Daniel's old money family. Paige Anderson? My cousin Emma spotted us first, her eyes widening. Oh my God, you look… She took in my dress, my jewelry, Marcus beside me. Different. It's Paige Bennett now, I corrected gently. You got married? Your parents said you were… She stopped, flushing. Said I was what? Working minimum wage somewhere. Struggling. Marcus's hand found mine. Shall we find our seats? But Emma wasn't done staring. That dress is Oscar de la Renta. Yes. The real thing? I smiled. As real as I am. Words spread quickly. By the time we reached the ballroom, half the relatives were whispering, phones out, probably Googling. The black sheep had returned, and she wasn't wearing wool anymore. The ballroom held 200 guests, all turning as we entered. Is that really Paige? Aunt Carol's whisper carried across the space. Her husband pulled out his phone, typing frantically. The receiving line loomed ahead. Mom stood in champagne lace, her face cycling through emotions as she saw me. Surprise, confusion, then that familiar disappointment, as if my presence was an inconvenience. The black sheep returns, someone whispered. I kept walking, Marcus's steady presence beside me. Heads turned, following our progress. Several people seemed to recognize Marcus, nudging their companions, pointing discreetly. That's Marcus Bennett, a man in a gray suit murmured. Westfield Medical's heir. Mom's face had gone pale. She grabbed Dad's arm, whispering urgently. He turned, his expression hardening when he saw me. Julia, radiant in her wedding dress, hadn't noticed yet. She was too busy posing for photos with Daniel's Harvard friends. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, Marcus greeted my parents formally. Beautiful venue. Mom's eyes darted between us, taking in Marcus's Rolex, my dress, the way servers immediately offered us champagne from the top shelf. Paige, Dad's voice was flat. Surprised you could afford to come. The words hung in the air. Several nearby guests quieted, sensing drama. Affording things isn't a problem anymore, I replied evenly. That's a nice rental dress, Mom added, her old cruelty surfacing. The jewelry is convincing too. Cubic zirconia has gotten so realistic. A woman behind us gasped softly. She recognized the pieces. Marcus's grandmother's diamonds were legendary in certain circles. Mrs. Anderson, Marcus's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. Those diamonds have been in my family for 3 generations. The silence spread outward like ripples. Mom's mouth opened, closed, opened again. That's when Julia finally noticed us. Oh, you actually showed up. Julia glided over in her wedding dress, every inch the princess our parents had paid for. Her eyes swept over me, cataloging changes, searching for flaws. Julia, I kept my voice neutral. Congratulations. How generous of you to come. She emphasized generous like I should be grateful for the invitation. Everyone, this is my sister Paige. She's been finding herself these past few years. 9 years, actually, I corrected. Dad inserted himself into the conversation. Still working those retail jobs? No. Finally got that community college degree? Mom's voice dripped false concern. There's no shame in it, dear. Not everyone can handle real university. The crowd around us grew. Daniel's Harvard friends, PharmaCorp executives, family members, all watching this reunion unfold. Some of us buy our dresses, Julia, I said quietly, remembering her teenage taunts about my thrift store clothes. Julia laughed, bright and sharp. Some of us don't have to pretend to afford them. Pretend? Marcus stepped forward slightly. That's when Daniel appeared, champagne glass in hand, face flushed from celebration. He stopped mid-stride when he saw Marcus, his expression shifting to recognition, then confusion. Marcus Bennett? His voice pitched higher. What are you doing here? Supporting my wife, Marcus replied simply. The champagne glass trembled in Daniel's hand. His eyes darted between us, pieces clicking together. Wife? Daniel? Julia's voice wavered. What's wrong? But Daniel wasn't looking at Julia. He was staring at me, his face draining of color. You're Paige Bennett. Yes. CEO of MedTech Solutions. The ballroom seemed to inhale collectively. What? Julia's perfect composure cracked. What are you talking about? Daniel's response came out as barely a whisper. Oh God. Julia's laugh pierced the silence. Everyone, meet my sister who couldn't even finish community college. She raised her voice deliberately, ensuring all 200 guests could hear. The string quartet stopped playing. Servers paused mid-pour. This is Paige, the family disappointment. We tried to help, but... She shrugged elegantly, playing to her audience. We tried everything, Dad added loudly. Some people just can't be helped. Mom clutched her pearls dramatically. At least you found someone to take care of you, dear. There's no shame in marrying well when you can't succeed yourself. The humiliation was orchestrated, practiced, designed to put me back in my place. 9 years later, and they were still running the same script. Phones appeared in hands. Someone was definitely recording. Julia basked in the attention, not noticing Daniel tugging at her arm. Julia, stop! Daniel's voice was urgent. Oh, Daniel knows all about family struggles, Julia continued, ignoring him. His family built themselves up from nothing too, but with actual success, not... She gestured at me. Whatever this is. Julia, shut up! Daniel's shout echoed across the ballroom. Everyone froze. The groom didn't just raise his voice at the bride, not at their wedding, not in front of everyone. This person is... Daniel's face was ghost white, sweat beading on his forehead. She's what? Julia demanded, her princess facade cracking. My loser sister? She's the CEO we've been trying to get a meeting with for 6 months, Daniel's voice cracked. She controls the technology that could save PharmaCorp. Julia's mouth opened. No sound came out. We're signing the Westfield contract tomorrow, Daniel continued, his voice rising with panic. She controls our entire digital future. The silence was complete. 200 people and no one even breathed. Have you ever had a moment where the truth came out at the perfect time? Where karma showed up dressed to the nines? Share your story in the comments. I love hearing how others have overcome family dynamics like these. If you're enjoying this, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support helps me tell these stories that need to be heard. The revelation was about to get even more interesting. You're Paige Bennett, CEO of MedTech Solutions. Daniel's words hung in the air like a confession. 200 faces turned toward me, then back to Julia, then to my parents. We're signing the Westfield contract Monday. Tomorrow, Daniel continued, his voice desperate. Your company controls the infrastructure for 12 hospitals. Julia's face had gone from white to red. What are you talking about? Your sister, Daniel grabbed Julia's hands, runs the company that PharmaCorp desperately needs. We've been trying to get a meeting for months. Our digital infrastructure is failing. Without MedTech's platform, we lose our hospital contracts. Mom's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. That's impossible, Dad said flatly. Paige doesn't even have a degree. She graduated summa cum laude from State University, Marcus interjected calmly. Before getting her MBA from Wharton, executive program, top of her class. Someone in the crowd was frantically Googling. Holy shit, sorry, but look at this. Forbes 30 Under 30. Healthcare Innovation Award. Her company's valued at $200 million. $200 million? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Your sister controls our entire digital infrastructure, Daniel repeated to Julia, who seemed frozen in place. If she pulls out of negotiations, PharmaCorp loses everything. Mr. Thompson, CEO of Mercy General, pushed through the crowd. Paige Bennett, I've been trying to meet you for months. We need your surgical scheduling system desperately. Suddenly, business cards were being thrust at me from all directions. Healthcare executives, hospital administrators, all recognizing the name they'd been hearing in board meetings. Julia stood alone in her wedding dress, watching her spotlight get hijacked by the sister she'd called a failure an hour ago. This can't be real, she whispered. The girl you called not college material graduated summa cum laude. Marcus stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. I'm Marcus Bennett, heir to Westfield Medical Group. Paige and I have built something extraordinary together. I opened my portfolio calmly, pulling out materials I'd hoped I wouldn't need. MedTech Solutions, $200 million valuation, 12 hospital systems as clients, 500 employees. My business card gleamed as I set it on the gift table. CEO. Not struggling, not minimum wage, not family disappointment. We've revolutionized healthcare administration, I continued, my voice steady. Reduced medical errors by 30%. Saved our clients $40 million in operational costs last year alone. Phones were out everywhere. People Googling, gasping, showing their neighbors. My TED Talk on healthcare innovation, the Wall Street Journal article, the Forbes feature. This is fake, Julia's voice cracked. This has to be fake. Google it, someone called out. It's all there. Jesus, she was on CNBC last month. Dad grabbed someone's phone, staring at the screen. His face went through a series of expressions, disbelief, confusion, then something like rage. You never told us. His accusation hung in the air. You never asked. My response was simple. 9 years of silence, remember? We're your parents! Mom's voice rose hysterically. We had a right to know. You had a right? I let that sink in. Like I had a right to college funding? Like I had a right to be treated equally? Mr. Thompson was still hovering nearby. Mrs. Bennett, could we schedule a meeting? We desperately need your technology. The contrast was perfect. Strangers begging for my attention while my family stood there, realizing they'd bet on the wrong horse. Success needs no explanation to those who doubted it. The words left my mouth as more executives surrounded me, business cards extending like offerings. Mr. Thompson from Mercy General, Dr. Rodriguez from Baptist Health, even Daniel's boss, the actual CEO of PharmaCorp. I've been trying to reach you for months, Thompson practically shouted. We need your surgical scheduling system yesterday. My parents attempted to move closer. Paige, sweetheart. But the crowd of executives blocked them, all clamoring for attention. In the middle of it all, Julia stood frozen in her wedding dress, watching her special day become my networking event. Mrs. Bennett, we're prepared to offer $30 million for exclusive rights to your ER management system, someone called out. $40 million, another voice countered. Julia's maid of honor was showing her something on her phone, whispering urgently. Julia's face went from red to white to green. Julia never graduated! The shout came from across the room. One of Daniel's colleagues, phone in hand, face twisted with disbelief. What? Daniel spun toward his bride. I checked our HR system, the man continued, walking closer. There's no record of Julia Morrison in our employee database. She doesn't work at PharmaCorp. The room exploded. 200 guests, all talking at once, phones out, searching, verifying. But her LinkedIn says, someone started. LinkedIn says, whatever you want it to say, another guest observed. Daniel was staring at Julia like he'd never seen her before. You said you were senior manager. Julia's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. The degree, Daniel's voice was hollow. Is your degree even real? My parents had gone completely silent, their faces showing they knew exactly what their golden child had done. You paid for a fake degree but wouldn't pay for my real education? The question hung in the air as Daniel's colleague continued scrolling through his phone. Liberty Coast University, he read aloud. It's a diploma mill, shut down last year for fraud. Julia's carefully constructed world crumbled in real time. Her hands shook as she reached for Daniel, who stepped backward. 5 years, Daniel's voice was hollow. You said you were in college for 5 years. She was, I said quietly. She just never graduated, failed out junior year, right, Julia? Mom stepped forward. How dare you? How dare I tell the truth? I pulled up State University's public graduation records on my phone. Julia Anderson, no results found, but hey, Liberty Coast University would print anything for $10,000. You knew? Daniel turned on my parents. You knew? Dad's silence was admission enough. We were protecting her future, Mom said weakly. Everyone needs a degree these days. A real degree, Daniel was shouting now. Not fraud. Do you understand what this means? I vouched for her at PharmaCorp. I told the board she was an asset. His colleague was still searching. The background check. How did she pass the background check? We never ran one, Daniel admitted. I said she was family. I said I could vouch for her. The irony was perfect. The daughter they'd given everything to had built her life on lies, while the one they'd abandoned had built an empire on merit. Mr. Morrison, someone from PharmaCorp's board spoke up. We need to discuss this, immediately. Julia was crying now, mascara streaming. Paige, please, you're my sister. Now I'm your sister? The calm in my voice surprised even me. Interesting timing. Business is about trust, something this family never showed me. I addressed the room with CEO authority, the kind earned through years of board meetings and difficult decisions. The Westfield contract has a morality clause, I stated clearly. MedTech Solutions cannot partner with companies that employ individuals with fraudulent credentials. Daniel's face went gray. The PharmaCorp deal is now in jeopardy, I confirmed. We can't risk our reputation on partnerships with companies that don't verify their employees. Please, Daniel turned to me, desperate. This could ruin everything. My promotion. Your promotion was based on bringing Julia as an asset to the company, his colleague interrupted. An asset that doesn't exist. The PharmaCorp board members were huddled in the corner, phones pressed to ears, damage control already beginning. One of them approached Daniel. We need you at headquarters, now. But it's my wedding. It's your career, the board member corrected. What's left of it? Julia grabbed Daniel's arm. You can't leave. He shook her off. You lied to me, about everything. Your job, your degree, your entire life. My parents knew. Julia's desperation peaked. They helped. Tell him. Mom and Dad stood frozen, their complicity exposed to everyone they'd tried to impress. We did what we thought was best, Dad attempted. You committed fraud, Mr. Thompson observed. That's what you did. The St. Regis wedding coordinator appeared, looking concerned. Is everything all right? Should we delay dinner service? There won't be dinner, Daniel said flatly. This wedding is over. The collective gasp from 200 guests created its own weather system in the ballroom. You can't, Julia screamed. But Daniel was already walking out, his colleagues flanking him like security. Family isn't about blood, it's about who shows up. Marcus and I stood to leave. The ballroom was in chaos, guests whispering, Julia sobbing, my parents frozen in mortification. Wait, I turned back, reaching into my portfolio. We've paid for your honeymoon suite. Consider it our wedding gift. Julia's tear-streaked face twisted. I don't want your pity. It's not pity. Use it to figure out your next move. I pulled out a check, already prepared. $50,000 for the real education you need. The room went silent again. Why? Mom's voice cracked. Why would you? Because I'm not you, I said simply. I don't abandon family, even when they abandoned me, but this is the last time. Dad stepped forward. Paige, we're still your parents. No. The word was firm, final. Parents show up. Parents support equally. Parents don't bet on one child and discard the other. I placed the check on the gift table. Julia, you're 28. It's not too late to build something real, but it has to be real this time. Marcus took my hand. We walked toward the exit, past 200 stunned guests, past the ice sculpture that probably cost more than my first year's rent, past the string quartet that had started playing again, some sad, ironic melody. Mrs. Bennet, Mr. Thompson called out. Your card! I need your card! I handed him one without breaking stride. At the doorway, I turned back once. My parents looked older somehow, smaller, surrounded by the ruins of their golden child's wedding. Julia stood alone in white, the check in her trembling hands. The wedding that ended everything, someone whispered. We left them with their consequences. The wedding that ended everything. That's what the society pages called it. Within an hour, the story was on social media. Bride exposed as fraud at own wedding went viral before we even reached our car. Someone had live-streamed the entire confrontation. Daniel filed for annulment Monday morning. The marriage had lasted exactly 0 days. He also resigned from PharmaCorp before they could fire him, his reputation destroyed by association. Julia was escorted from PharmaCorp headquarters that same Monday. Security guards, boxes of her things, except there were no things. She'd never actually worked there. The security footage made the evening news. Local woman exposed in corporate fraud scandal. My parents' social circle reacted swiftly and brutally. Mom was removed from 3 charity boards within a week. We can't have that kind of scandal attached to our organization, the president of the Ladies' Auxiliary told her. Dad's business took an immediate hit. 40% of his contracts canceled, citing trust issues and reputational concerns. His biggest client called personally. Robert, if you'd lie about your daughter's credentials, what else would you lie about? The country club revoked their membership. Marcus showed me the texts Julia sent, dozens of them. You ruined my life. This is all your fault. I hope you're happy. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad either. I was free. She's not taking responsibility, Marcus observed, reading over my shoulder. She learned from the best, I replied, thinking of our parents. The $50,000 check remained uncashed. Pride, probably. Or maybe she thought it was another trap. Either way, the offer stood. Real education for a real future if she ever chose to take it. But first, she'd have to admit the truth. Reputation takes years to build, seconds to destroy. Julia's name became toxic in the pharmaceutical industry overnight. LinkedIn posts warning about her, HR departments adding her to blacklists. The fake degree scandal followed her everywhere. Daniel's demotion was swift. From CFO to junior analyst, pending investigation. His Harvard connections couldn't save him from the embarrassment of vouching for a fraud. The promotion he'd worked 5 years for, gone. He should have verified her credentials, the PharmaCorp board stated publicly. Due diligence is non-negotiable. Dad's business imploded systematically. First, the major clients left, then the mid-sized ones. Finally, even small customers questioned his integrity. If Robert Anderson would help his daughter fake credentials, what's he doing with our contracts? Within 3 months, he'd laid off half his staff. Mom's fall from social grace was complete when the Country Club newsletter ran a piece on the importance of honesty in our community. They didn't name her directly, but everyone knew. The whispers followed them everywhere: grocery stores, restaurants, church. There go the Andersons. Remember the wedding? Our phone rang constantly those first weeks. Reporters, bloggers, anyone wanting the inside story. We declined all interviews. The truth had been public enough. Any regrets? Marcus asked one evening, seeing me scroll through the news coverage. No, I answered honestly. They created this situation. They nurtured it. They chose Julia's lies over my truth for years. A text came through from an unknown number. I almost deleted it until I saw the preview. This is Emma, your cousin. Just wanted you to know. We all see who they really are now, and who you've always been. Sometimes vindication comes from unexpected places. I'm not ruining your life. I'm just not saving it. 47 missed calls in the first week. Voicemails oscillating between anger and desperation. Paige, this is your mother. Call me immediately. How could you do this to your family? Please, sweetheart, we need to talk. You've destroyed everything we built. I'm sorry, we're sorry, please. Dad showed up at MedTech's headquarters on week 2. Security called me from the lobby. There's a Robert Anderson here. Says he's your father. Should we follow standard protocol for unauthorized visitors? I replied. I watched on the security monitor as they escorted him out. He looked older, smaller, his usual commanding presence deflated. Mom tried a different approach: emotional manipulation via email. Paige, I carried you for 9 months. Doesn't that mean anything? We made mistakes, but destroying Julia's life wasn't the answer. She's had to move back home. She cries every day. Your father's business is failing. Is this what you wanted? I responded once. I didn't create this situation. I simply stopped hiding from it. Julia's messages were the worst. Pure venom mixed with desperate pleading. You're not my sister. I'll sue you for defamation. Please help me get a job. I hope you lose everything like I did. I'm sorry, can we talk? The final twist came through Marcus's mother, who ran a scholarship foundation. We're funding 10 full scholarships for first-generation college students, she announced at dinner. Paige insisted on anonymous funding, but I think people should know she's giving back to kids in situations like hers. Kids whose parents won't help? Marcus asked pointedly. Kids whose parents can't see their potential, I corrected. There's a difference. The check to Julia remained uncashed. The best revenge is a life well lived. MedTech went public 6 months after the wedding. Opening day, our stock soared 40%. Marcus and I watched from the NYSE floor as our company's value hit $500 million. From an 8x8 room to this, Marcus whispered, squeezing my hand. The Bennett Foundation for First-Generation Students had funded 23 full scholarships. Each recipient reminded me why success meant nothing if you didn't lift others. Our real family, Marcus's parents, our mentors, our chosen circle, celebrated with us at every milestone. No empty chairs, no backhanded compliments, no conditions on their love. To Paige, Marcus's father toasted at our IPO dinner, who proved that character creates success, not connections. Meanwhile, social media told a different story about the Andersons. Julia working retail at a department store, the same kind of job they'd mocked me for having. My parents downsized from their 5-bedroom house to a 2-bedroom condo. The country club life they'd sacrificed my education for, gone. They're still your parents, Marcus said one evening, finding me looking at their downsizing announcement. No, I corrected. They're just people who had children. There's a difference. A year after the wedding, Julia finally cashed the check. No thank you, no acknowledgement. But she enrolled in community college, verified through public records. Real classes this time. Maybe she'd build something authentic, maybe not. That was her journey now. Any regrets? Marcus asked on our anniversary, standing in our penthouse overlooking the city. Just one, I admitted. I wish I'd left sooner. Imagine what we could have built with those extra years. You weren't ready then, he said gently. Your strength came from surviving them. He was right. Sometimes the family you choose is worth more than the family you're born into. Sometimes the family you choose is worth more than the family you're born into. Standing here now, 3 years after that wedding, I've learned something valuable. Family isn't entitled to your success just because they share your DNA. When people show you who you are to them, believe it. My parents showed me for 18 years. I was the investment that wouldn't pay off, the child worth less than her sister. They made their choice repeatedly, consistently, clearly. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're protection. The wall I built between us wasn't about revenge. It was about survival, then thriving, then protecting what I'd built from people who would have destroyed it. Your worth isn't determined by their validation. I spent years trying to prove myself to people who'd already decided my value. The moment I stopped seeking their approval was the moment I started succeeding. The Bennett Foundation has now funded 57 students. Kids whose parents said, "You're not college material." Kids who were told to be realistic. Kids who just needed one person to believe in them. That's my real legacy. Not the company worth $500 million. Not the healthcare innovations. But the doors I've opened for kids who stood where I stood, hearing they weren't worth the investment. Julia graduated community college last month. Real degree, real effort. She sent a simple text. Thank you. Maybe she'll build something authentic now. Maybe she's learned what our parents never taught us, that real success can't be faked. As for my parents, they exist in a past I no longer visit. Some bridges, once burned, light the way forward. If you've ever been the unfavored child, remember this. Their inability to see your worth doesn't diminish it. Build your empire. Choose your family. Live your truth. Your success isn't revenge, it's freedom. If you've ever had to set boundaries with toxic family, you're not alone. What's your story of overcoming family favoritism? Drop it in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this resonated with you, please subscribe and share with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, you don't owe success to those who bet against you. See you in the next story.